Yo, what is going on, guys? And welcome back to 365 Analytics. And happy Friday, everybody. It is here. NFL free agency is almost only a few days away. Legal tampering starts this Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But now, with this channel, annual tradition on this channel we are going to do. It is year two of my 2025 NFL free agency predictions. I'm just going to kind of go over the top free agents, a lot of big names, and kind of give my optimal landing spots and where I think they could end up, or who I think will sign them, or I think a good fit for them is. But yeah, we're going to talk about everything, including big trade candidates, franchise tag, only two franchise tags this year, but we're going to talk about both of them. And we're going to talk about all the tier one free agents, all the tier two free agents, and some other big names. So before we get into it, if you guys enjoy, please like, subscribe. That would all be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's get right into this. Free agency starts on Monday. We have a whole entire weekend ahead of us. But yeah, let's start with the most simple thing of the video, the franchise tags. We had two of them this cycle, a very low cycle of franchise tags. Usually we have five, six, seven. Nope. This year we only had two. Number one being T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously my favorite team. We all heard the Trey Hendrickson news yesterday. He is requesting a trade, and the Bengals expect and are expected to grant the trade request. So they are on the phone with other teams right now about him, and that will clear cap space. So I think evidently the Bengals drag things out. The Bengals make it harder for themselves. I think we evidently will get a deal done with T. Higgins. It's all signs point to that right now, and I think that's the direction they will eventually go. I do not think it'll get done before Monday, which makes things harder for everybody. I think it's absolute malpractice by the front office, and we'll talk more about it when Trey Hendrickson comes up in a few seconds here. But I'm not a fan of what the front office is doing this offseason. They do not look like they're sticking to their plan. I think T. Higgins will get re-signed, but it's just making it harder for everybody dragging it out and not just front loading the guarantees and just pay up. Just pay up. This guy is elite, T. Higgins. He's a beast. So, yeah, I think he's eventually going to resign. And same thing with Trey Smith. Obviously, we saw Joe Thuney, the probably Hall of Fame guard. He got traded to the Chicago Bears this week in a deal that included a fourth round pick back to Kansas City. Joe Thuney's 30 years old already. I think that means all signs point to Kansas City eventually striking a deal with Trey Smith and he being there for the long run. I think he's 24, 25 years old now. This is will be a second contract when he gets paid, but I also think he will resign with his team. And I think both franchise tags this year will get a long-term deal done. So yeah, that's what I believe happens there. And then we go to the trade candidates. We have a lot to talk about here. So I'm going to start off with these three guys right here that already happened. We start off with Debo Samuel. Last week at the Combine, live on the Combine's broadcast, Debo Samuel traded to the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels got his number two wide receiver to pair with Terry McLaurin. Obviously, saw Joe Thuney the other day. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Traded to the Chicago Bears for a fourth round pick. Obviously, one of the guards of all time in the NFL's history. Then yesterday, you had Christian Kirk was expected to be released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars ended up flipping it and trading him to an in-division rival, Houston Texans, and the Texans lock him up and snag him already. Those three already happened. Then you go to the top, Myles Garrett. Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns are stuck in their ways. They do not want to ship off Myles Garrett no matter what the asking price is. They are expected to stay with him. They do not want to let him go. But Myles Garrett is also holding a grudge and he's like, I want out of Cleveland. I want to win a Super Bowl. I am not spending my career deep into my 30s with no Super Bowl contention. I want to go to a contender and I want to win a Super Bowl. My predictions he stays with Cleveland, but I mean, he is expected to hold out. That's what reports have been today. He is expected to not play the games and hold out if Cleveland doesn't grant his trade request. So it could be interesting to see what they do there. I mean, I think if he holds out, Cleveland might start budging and might start taking good offers, but my guess right now is he stays with the Cleveland Browns, but who knows? Probably holds out. And then you go to my predictions. Cooper Kupp. I think he ends up with New England Patriots. I think this would be a perfect guy to get Drake May. The New England Patriots obviously have a lot of cap space, and the Los Angeles Rams have failed to find a trade partner. He's been expected to be traded out of LA for weeks now, and they still haven't found a trade partner. So there is a chance he gets released if they can't find a trade partner. He goes to the open market next week. So who knows what happens there? But I think New England could make a swing. I think it's a good landing spot for him for the young Drake May. Then you go to DK Metcalf, who did request a trade this week as well. Tyler Lockett was cut. Obviously, all the good years he had with Seattle over. A couple hours later, maybe an hour later, DK Metcalf, the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver, did request a trade, and Seattle is expected to grant it as well. There was reports a few weeks ago on Green Bay calling, which is who I have him going to. There is reports on the Chargers being interested. I think that would be a very, very ideal landing spot. Pair him up with Vlad McConkey. And yeah, there is reports on New England. A lot of people are on New England on this one. Obviously, the cap space they have money for him, and that would be a very, very good landing spot. DK Metcalf, I believe, has previously said he doesn't want to live in New England, which is pretty interesting, but my prediction is Green Bay. There are a lot of landing spots there, though. There's also reports the Steelers have called, so who knows there. And then you get a Trey Hendrickson, who did request a trade from the Bengals yesterday, and the Bengals are expected to grant it. Shockingly, I'm surprised the front office isn't dragging the situation out. So here's the thing with the Trey Hendrickson situation. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. This guy is a bona fide star. He signed with your franchise in 2021, went to four straight Pro Bowls now with the Bengals. Four straight Pro Bowls. And he was a first team All Pro this past season. He was a sack leader this past season. He was second in sacked in 2023. He had 13 and a half in 2021. The only semi down year he had was 2022. And he still made a Pro Bowl. This guy's a bona fide star. Obviously, we saw the Max Crosby deal a few days ago. Next day, Trey Hendrickson requests a trade. I don't think that's any coincidence. I think the Bengals are like, this guy probably wants 30 plus $1 million. He wants close to top of the market money that Max Crosby got. Max Crosby got the highest non quarterback contract of all time with $35 million, over $90 million guaranteed. I think Trey Hendrickson's like, yesterday's price was not today's price. He drove the price up, and the Bengals were like, absolutely not. We're not paying a 30-year-old that type of money. And I think the Bengals do ship him off. The team he goes to, however, I think the Washington Commanders, obviously all the cap space in the world over there they have. They've been in reports in the edge market for a while. A lot of people are mocking Myles Garrett to them. I think the Browns aren't budging on Myles Garrett, and the Commanders want to have security of the position. And I think the Commanders make a swing there. That's my prediction. I think a realistic trade, a second rounder, and maybe like a sixth or seventh rounder, maybe a third and like a fifth, something like that. But the Bengals probably aren't getting pick 29. If we stole pick 29 from them, though, I'd be pretty happy, but that's probably not going to happen. So yeah, those are the trade candidates I think, and where I think they end up. I might have missed a trade candidate. There's been so much news over the past week now. I might have missed some, but let me know down below if I did. I probably know them, but I just so much going on right now. Tier one free agents. Honestly, the free agent class is pretty weak this year, so there's really not many tier one and tier two guys. Just a bunch of pretty big names that could help teams, could plug and play, and help the team out pretty good. If you saw my quarterback one predictions for 2025, my video I made a few weeks ago, you would have known I had Sam Darnold to the Tennessee Titans. I think they pass on a quarterback with the number one overall pick. I think they could go to Abdul Carter. They could trade down with a team like the Giants or the Jets. And I think they go to Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's probably going to get $40 million a year if I had to guess. A great year in Minnesota. Not a great finish, but a great, great year in Minnesota. And I think he's going to get paid. Then you go to Aaron Rodgers. And I'm going to have the New York Giants here. There is reports that they're interested, so I think that's the best landing spot. I mean, other than the Giants, though, what options are there for Aaron Rodgers? Not much. He's not officially released yet, I don't believe. I think he's being released in the new league year. But if the Giants don't make a swing on him, I mean, I don't know who will. There's a chance he retires, I think, if the Giants don't make a swing. But yeah, I think he ends up there. There is reports that does not stop the Giants from drafting a quarterback, though. So who knows how that whole situation goes. Then you go to Devontae Adams, released by the Jets this week as well. And there is a lot of landing spots here. I think the 49ers could be a sneaky team for him. I think wherever Aaron Rodgers goes is probably the number one option. I think the Baltimore Ravens could be players. I think the New England Patriots could be players. but evidently I think he ends up with the Los Angeles Chargers, and that gives Herbert a very, very nice wide receiver duo of Adams and McConkey. And that means with Jim Harbaugh as head coach and the quarterback that you have, I think that could be a team that does some damage. So I think it's a very, very good landing spot for him. And I think Devontae Adams, obviously 30 plus years old now, wants to win, and I think the Chargers could set him up well to do that. Ronnie Stanley, New England Patriots into left tackle. I expect Kansas City to be in on him too. I do not think Baltimore resigns him. New England has all the cap space in the world. They have by far the most in the league. They're going to pay some guys. I doubt that they sit pat last year. Like they missed out on Calvin Ridley, obviously, last year. They missed out on Hopkins a few years back. I expect them to make a move on a guy like this year. Milton Williams, Arizona Cardinals. Arizona has a lot of cap space, and this is a tier one free agent. They need some defensive line help. This is the direction I think they go in. And then you look at Javon Holland, by far the best safety in the entire free agent class this year. Still very, very young. I think he's 24 or 25 now. Was pretty good with the Miami Dolphins. Now, if he goes to Minnesota, that is reunites with Brian Flores there, and I think that could be a very, very interesting connection to swing back on. And yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting to see him go back with Brian Flores. So yeah, give me Javon Holland to Minnesota. And those are your tier one free agents and my landing spot predictions. Then you go to tier two, some tier two guys. Aaron Jones, the best running back in the class. I think he had a pretty solid year with Minnesota. I don't think he leaves. Then you go to Chris Godwin, same thing there. Tore his ACL last year, was having a beast of a year. I think he led the league in yards at one point. Baker Mayfield was absolutely cooking with him. And I think Tampa Bay, I think he likes, and I think Tampa Bay likes what they're building together. I do not think he leaves Tampa Bay. Then you look at Stephon Diggs. You know who his brother is? Trayvon Diggs. I think he ends up in Dallas, and Dallas has been in the market of a number two wide receiver. I think Brandon Cooks is a free agent, and there are some moves they can make. Guys like Keenan Allen, guys like Amari Cooper could return there, but I think they end up with Stephon Diggs. Josh Sweat, again, New England. They need a pass rusher. I think their number one pass rusher is technically Keon White right now, and they have all the money in the world, so they can afford to overpay these guys. That's the move I think they make. Levante David, obviously a Buccaneers legend, potentially a future Hall of Famer, been a solid linebacker for absolute many years in this league. I think he's back in Tampa Bay. Charvarius Ward, the 49ers corner, the former Chief. I think he ends up in Indianapolis. I think that could be a good spot for him. Indianapolis could be in need of a corner, and I think they can afford to pay a guy like that. And then Carlton Davis and Darius Slay, two cornerbacks together. Carlton Davis was with the Lions last year, previously traded from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Lions. Had a very, very good year before the injury that held him out of the playoffs, and I thought he was one of the most underrated corners in the league last year. Wasn't enough talk about him. I think Detroit retains him. And then you go to Darius Slay, who was released by the Eagles this week, who has previously said on a Monroe St. Brown's podcast that he would like to return to Detroit, and he would like obviously the Matt Patricia thing and him and the argument in the locker room ended poorly there, but it's an entire new regimen in Detroit since he's last been there, and I think it would be nice for him to go back to Detroit, and I think that's the place he would want to go. So yeah, Darius Slay back to Detroit, and those are your tier two guys in my landing spot predictions. And then we finish off with just basically the other big names. I'm going to put my face cam a little bit smaller so you can see this here. Face cam a little smaller. Okay, that's pretty good. So, you can see all the names here. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I'm just going to kind of go through it. Najee Harris to the Raiders. Raiders are in need of a running back, and I think he could be a good suitor there. Keenan Allen, I think he would be a perfect complementary option as wide receiver two to Marvin Harrison Jr. Amari Cooper to the Steelers. Had a pretty underwhelming year, dropped a lot of passes in Cleveland, went to Buffalo, did absolutely nothing, but I think the Steelers could be players there. Hopkins back to KC, Robinson Steelers, Kevin Zeitler and Mekhi Becton, two guards. I think they re-signed with their teams. Tevin Jenkins, I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that'd be a good spot for him. Khalil Mack, I think, goes back to Chicago. Chicago's in need of a pass rusher number two, and I think that's a perfect swing they can make. Demarcus Lawrence, obviously a Cowboys legend for years now, back to Dallas. And here's a Bengals move. I think Mick Bolton would be a big move for them. I expect Jermaine Pratt to be released in the coming days. If not, next week, he's going to be released or traded eventually, and that's inevitable, I think. And I think they go in that direction with Nick Bolton. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson and Jermaine Pratt aren't on this defense anymore. Logan Wilson is your lone survivor from the Super Bowl defense. So I think Nick Bolton will be a good guy next to Logan Wilson to upgrade the defense. Byron Murphy, he had a Pro Bowl year this past year. I think he goes back to Minnesota. DJ Reed started his career in San Francisco years ago. Very, very underrated corner. I think he goes back to San Francisco. Rasul Douglas, last year's trade deadline, was traded from Green Bay to Buffalo. I think goes back to Green Bay. Jair Alexander is expected to be on the move. Who, that's a guy I didn't put on this list. I should have put him on the list, but now it comes back to me. Jair Alexander. I don't know. I forgot about him, but there's a lot of places he could go as well. Stephon Gilmore, Kansas City feels like a very Kansas City move to me. Veteran guy could step next to Trent McDuffie and play very very well in the Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo scheme. And Chamari Connor was a little bit underwhelming last year, so I think he would be a perfect complementary option to McDuffie. Evan Ingram's got released Jets. I think Joey Bosa ends up in San Francisco, 30 years old now. I think it would be a great story to see him play next to Nick Bosa, and I think that's what he wants to do. West Coast stays on the West Coast, so yeah. Tyler Lockett, I think we see a reunite with Pete Carroll, Jonathan Allen, who was just released today. They were trying to find a trade, but they couldn't. Jacksonville, Javon Hargrave, another guy who's not officially released yet, but expected to be released in the new league year. I think this is a perfect Bengals guy. Obviously, getting on the older side now, but has went to a Super Bowl with Philly. Had a great year in Philly. Was injured last year, and the 49ers are already expecting giving up on him. Harold Landry was just released a few hours ago. Detroit's a perfect spot for him. Brandon Cooks reuniting with Sean Payton in Denver. Draymond Jones, Jets. Justin Reed. Okay. This Justin Reed move, I feel like John Harbaugh might look at this like, hey, this can be our Geno Stone replacement. Obviously, you know the Baltimore safety duo, Ardarius Washington and Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton's your starter, and I think they really like Ardarius Washington. I think you could sign Justin Reed, and he'd be like a Geno Stone type player, where we know in 2023 with the Ravens, Geno Stone stepped in on certain sets, led the league in interceptions, and was all over the field. I think this would be a good signing for Baltimore. Jonathan Jones, the former Patriots corner to Buffalo. James Daniels, the former Steelers guard to Cincinnati. Charles Omenihu, another guy to New England. I don't know why I have that in red, but I think that could be a good move for New England. Will Fries to the Texans. Shaq Mason was just released today. I think this is the guy they go after. Matt Judon getting on the older side now, had a pretty down year in Atlanta. I think back to Baltimore would be another good spot for him just as a rotational pass rusher. And Darius Slay into Carolina give Bryce Young another option aside of Thielen and Leggett. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it. I mean, I could have went on the trade candidates to I could have added Jair Alexander on this list. I totally forgot about him, to be honest with you. If I wanted to go over landing spots for him, I mean, I think the Rams would be a good spot. I don't know. I guess New England could be a good spot because New England has a ton of cap space. There's a lot of spots I could see him going. I expect him to be released probably, and him be in the open market. But yeah, I think that'd be a good spot. A few good spots for him. But I should have added him on this slide right here. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys do enjoy, please like, subscribe. That would all be greatly appreciated. I am about to go record another video that's gonna go up later today as well, which is State of the Bengals TGIF edition, and I have a lot to say, a lot to say that I couldn't say in this video because this is about the entire NFL. But I'm about to go record that now. This will be going up later today, and I'll see y'all later.